Hi all, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we are taking a look at Roboute Guilliman himself, Primarch of the Ultramarines, and his reflections after the razing of Monarchia. Spoiler warning to begin, the events we are going to be looking at are from the Roboute Guilliman Lord of Ultramar Primarch's novel. As always, I really recommend you read the novel for yourself first. Not only do you get the most enjoyment out of it this way, but we help to support the Great Black Library and Games Workshop, because without them, well, we don't have all this great lore to talk about. Now, these events take place during the Great Crusade, but after the Ultramarines have razed the city of Monarchia under the orders of the Emperor of Mankind. If you have not watched my uploads about the razing of Monarchia, then be sure to go back and check them out first, before continuing on with this one. Okay, done that? Good. Now, Guilliman and his legion are on the world of Phobos, a human world fallen to orcs. With that said, let's just jump straight in. Guilliman waved off the question. Later, he said. To answer your first question, yes, the ruins are that important. Why? Their symbolism. Phobos is a culmination. We will crush the Orc Empire here. We will reclaim a world that we know was once a human one. Another piece of what is and must be, inherent to the Imperium, will be restored. All that would be true regardless of the state of the planet. Guilliman gave the old veteran a sideways look. Since when were you such an advocate for the Destroyer's way of war? I just don't think we should reject Hyrax's approach out of hand. I haven't. I said the symbolism of the ruins is important. It is for two reasons. We are not Destroyers, Marius. That isn't why my father created us. It can't be. It won't be. So preserving a city, even a dead one, is important, especially now. Because of the one we destroyed, Gage said after a moment. Yes, said Guilliman, because of the one we destroyed. So straight away here we can see Guilliman's thoughts must have been on the events of Monarchia for some time, and it even appears to have given him some conflicting feelings. We are not destroyers, Marius. This isn't why my father created us. It can't be. It won't be. So he's saying the Emperor didn't make us to be destroyers, then immediately follows it up with a "it can't be, it won't be," as almost a way of reassuring himself, like he's trying to convince himself of this. Monarchia, Lorgar's pride. The city raised to glorify the Emperor. The city raised because it had deified the Emperor. A place of architectural wonder, a beautiful city. The 13th Legion had come to the Jewel of Kur. The Ultramarines had taken possession of the city. They had rounded up the population. They had reduced the empty city to ash and glass. The people of Monarchia had committed no crime. They were loyal to the Emperor. Loyal to a fault, Guilliman thought. They were guilty only of believing the lie taught them by Lorgar, a lie Lorgar had believed himself. The memory of grief on Lorgar's face during the confrontation with the Emperor haunted Guilliman. It had been the terrible agony of a son punished for doing what he had thought would be pleasing to his father. What an interesting passage this is. When we covered the razing of Monarchia, Lorgar is furious with Guilliman, who showed no reaction or emotion, yet Lorgar perceived this lack of anything to be a smugness. He then continued to believe he saw enjoyment on the face of Guilliman, no doubt fueled by his emotions, of course, in that situation. Yet here we can see that Guilliman truly took no satisfaction in performing the duty at all. The memory of grief on Lorgar's face during his confrontation with the Emperor haunted Guilliman. It had been the terrible agony of a son punished for doing what he thought would be pleasing to his father. For all their differences, we know the stoic, duty-bound Guilliman and the emotional zealot Lorgar could hardly be any more different. Guilliman here was clearly crushed to see his brother so utterly and completely crushed by their father. Again, the grief on Lorgar's face during the confrontation haunted Guilliman. So despite it all, Guilliman cared for his brother still. To think how it all turned out. With the betrayal at Calf, it's the revealing passages like this that help us to understand the hurt and anger burning inside Guilliman after the breakout of the heresy. For all his reputation as an uncaring, procedure-driven Primarch, here we see he cared for Lorgar despite their complete differences in personality. In the Unremembered Empire, we see he hoped for the day where all the brothers could sit round a table together again with their father. So he actually cares quite a lot. He's a very human Primarch. The Ultramarines had destroyed a city and the spirit of its populace to chastise Lorgar, to humble his pride, to make a point. Symbolism. I keep wondering, Gage said, why us? Because my father could trust us to perform the task as it needed to be done. Would you have wished it on any of the others? Gage shook his head. And Angron might have enjoyed himself, Guilliman added. We did what we had to. We were deliberate. We were dispassionate. My father's chastisement was measured. And there we have why the Emperor chose the Ultramarines for the task, in Guilliman's mind at least. And you would have to expect it was more or less stated, if not by the Emperor, but definitely would have been by Malcador when the initial conversation with Guilliman took place. He would have undoubtedly asked, why me? Why my legion? Because the Emperor could trust Guilliman and the Ultramarines to do the task as it needed to be done. They razed the city and that's it. No further destruction, no further battles, no enjoyment taken, no grief even. They were emotionless. They did the task at hand and that's it. As Guilliman states, and that's a good point when you actually look at it. Take his jab at Angron for example, it's a dig for sure, but it's actually true. Angron would have enjoyed it, and most likely would have gone too far too. The Salamanders and Vulcan for example, on the other hand, I can easily imagine would have outright refused to do it, especially Vulcan. Of course there are others that may have been good choices too, but such as the Imperial Fists or Iron Hands for example. Not only that, but Guilliman and the Ultramarines were the best example to the Word Bearers specifically, due to their size being comparable to the Word Bearers. The Word Bearers were one of the largest legions and should have been advancing in the Crusade at the same pace and standard as the Ultramarines. That's another reason why it had to be Guilliman. Guilliman truly was the perfect Primarch with the perfect legion for the razing of Monarchia. With a sigh, Gage said, I did not feel measured when we flattened Monarchia. None of us did. The destruction had taken its toll on the Word Bearers. That had been its purpose. There had been a cost to the 13th Legion too. We suffered a blow because of what we did there. We took that blow because it was necessary and because we could stand it. Do you see what Foas can be for us? Symbolism. He tapped a data slate, summoning the picks Iasus and the scouts of the 166th had captured. There is majesty there. Majesty worth preserving and worth building upon. We will take back this city, and in time we will see a new civilization rise here. We will be creators again, Gage said. Foas will wash the bitterness of Monarchia from our mouths. As he spoke, Guilliman turned his seat to look out through the crystal flecks at the planet below. He saw the plane where his legions would land. his eyes locked onto the spot where he knew the ruins stood. He thought of absent cities. He tried to make himself think of cities yet to be, not of cities unmade. He failed. He thought of both. And there we have it, a short interaction, but again another one that gives us so much more understanding of the characters. In this instance, Roboute Guilliman. The razing of Monarchia has always been about the effect on the word bearers and Lorgar. How could the Emperor do that? Was he in the right? Was it too harsh? But here we see that both sides took a toll that day. The Ultramarines took no enjoyment in their task that day, and no enjoyment standing before a fellow legion being humbled. The same as one brother standing before another, being chastised before their father. We are so caught up in Lorgar's feelings and behaviour during the razing of Monarchia that we gloss over Guilliman's emotions entirely, because he has them hidden. Here we see the truth. After reading this, I'd really love to see some form of interaction between Lorgar and Guilliman in the current timeline. So much anger and betrayal between the two since then. Is there any brotherly connection left? We know Lorgar is alive and well due to the beatdown he received from Corax within the warp, and of course we know Guilliman is the only loyalist Primarch active in the Imperium. But what do you guys think? As always, drop your thoughts in the comments down below. I love reading them and interacting with you all. As always, huge thank you to all of my subscribers. Your support really means a lot to me, it truly does. And if you're new, then please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. If you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.